Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z Flashback, a series of explorations of the 150 games that make up Atari Flashback Classics for Nintendo Switch. Today's game is Star Raiders for the Atari 2600. Star Raiders was a 3D space combat simulator inspired by the earlier text-based Star Trek games that were originally played on mainframe computers. Star Raiders was first released in 1979 for the Atari 8-bit home computers, where it quickly established itself as the platform's killer app. And I don't know if you can see it, but there may be a copy of the 8-bit version on cartridge in sight just behind me there. The Atari 2600 version came a few years later in 1982, and it was ported to the platform by Carlo Meninsky, a veteran programmer for Atari who'd previously brought us the maze-based racing game Dodgem and the Atari 2600 version of Warlords. The Atari 2600 version of Star Raiders shipped with a 12-button keypad controller called the Video Touchpad in order to allow players to make use of all the game's functions. This was intended to be a multi-purpose device that would accept overlays depending on the game being played, but it ended up only ever being officially used for Star Raiders. It was functionally pretty much identical to the Atari keyboard controller and kids controller, but had a somewhat different design and form factor. Star Raiders for the Atari 2600 was an ambitious attempt to adapt a complex game to a platform with much weaker graphics and sound capabilities than the original platform it was released on. So how well did Meninsky manage? Let's go find out. Let's go play Star Raiders.
Okay, welcome back once again to Atari Flashback Classics, where today we're looking at an all-time classic and a favourite game of mine, which is Star Raiders. I haven't spent much time with the 2600 version, I must confess, because I grew up with the Atari 8-bit version, where it's always been a favourite of mine. The Atari 5200 version that we'll be looking at next time is heavily based on the Atari 8-bit version, but not completely identical. Whereas the 2600 version is its own thing, really. So let's have a look at the manual. Using the controller. Use the joystick controller and video touchpad. Okay, so basic controls are fairly straightforward. Sorry, helicopter flying over. Apologies if you can hear that. So the video touchpad came with an overlay for Star Raiders. And as I say, the original intention was to use this thing with lots of other games to provide more different buttons for games to be a bit more complicated on the 2600, but outside of the games that already supported the keyboard controller and the kids controller, there just wasn't anything. As far as I'm aware, I think they're all cross-compatible with each other because they all basically do the same thing. But yeah, they are all just basically a keypad. Okay, a Star Raiders overlay is provided for the video touchpad. Slip the overlay tabs into the slots provided. 4-view, key 1, galactic map, hyperwarp, computer on off, shields on off. And that's it, I believe. Okay, so press down the game select switch to select the mission skill level. So we have 10, 20, 30 or 40. So the higher the number, the more difficult it is. And that also affects how many targets you have to defeat as well. Difficulty switches allow you to turn the attack computer on and off, or the shields on and off. And you get a rank at the end of the game, just like in the Atari 8-bit version, according to how well you did. And the way it calculates your rank is M, which is your mission factor, plus the amount of energy you have remaining, divided by 100, minus the number of starbase visits divided by 2. So M is 0 at the easiest difficulty level, all the way up to 2 on level 40. Okay, so on skill level 10, you have 10 targets and 400 energy units. Excuse me. The computer prevents hyperwarping when fuel is insufficient. Krylon chips, definitely not Cylons, and the starbase are always on opposite sides of the galactic map at the start of a mission. Krylon photon torpedoes are not very accurate light damage, if any. At skill level 20, you have 20 targets and 600 energy units. Computer prevents hyperwarping when fuel is insufficient. Krylon chips and starbase are on opposite sides of the galactic map. Krylon torpedoes are fast and accurate. Skill level 30, 30 targets and 800 energy units. Check the energy gauge before hyperwarping, because you can kill yourself if you go into hyperspace when you don't have enough energy. And skill level 40, 40 targets, 900 energy units. Complete random positioning of the ships and the starbase. Yeah, okay. So your target marker is adjusted to show where photon torpedoes converge at infinity. Don't expect to hit a target lined up in the target marker unless it's very far away. When targets are closer, lower your aim. If energy runs low while you're fighting in the starbase sector, make one hyperwarp jump out of the starbase sector and immediately return to recharge. Okay. Oh, and here's some narrative. For some reason, this scan has got its page numbers all over the place. So there's the contents, and then it jumps straight to page 9. And then the actual setup is here. Alright, avenge the doomed planet. With Commander Champion and Lisana Rock in the Starfighter, you're on the trail of the Krylon invaders. You've taken an oath to destroy the Krylons and avenge the doomed planet. Through interstellar space, you hyperwarp faster than the speed of light, past uncharted stars and planets in an unexplored parallel universe. Watch out, you nearly collided with an asteroid. Run into an asteroid at this speed and pow, your space dust. Good thing the Starfighter's protective shields are on. Check the Krylon's position on your galactic map. Looks like they're heading for your starbase. Given half a chance, they'll destroy it to keep you from recharging and repairing the Starfighter. Their ships are fast, but you can hyperwarp anywhere in the galaxy in an instant if your energy supply holds out. It's a duel to the death. Will you succeed in destroying the Krylons before they wipe out the starbase? Will the Starfighter perish like the doomed planet? Or will you complete your mission and return a hero? The doomed planet, I guess that must be a reference to something else. Not sure offhand what it is. But I suspect that was sort of some fairly vague attempt to try and have coherent lore between different games. Because that is something they did occasionally. Your first mission is to destroy all Krylon warships and save the starbase. Failing that, you must wipe out all Krylon ships before the Starfighter is destroyed. Okay, that's pretty much everything we need to know. My main question with this is, how does it implement the touchpad? It actually assigns them to buttons on the controller. That's good. So 4-view is B. Galactic map is X, hyperwarp is Y, computer on off is L, and shield on off is R. There's nothing assigned to rear view. Fair enough. Alright, let's give it a go. Let's reset that first. Star Raiders, copyright Atari 1982. So you can hit the game select switch to choose which mode you want to play in. So we'll start with just the easiest one first of all. Game reset, and off we go. I believe we start with our everything turned on as it should be. Let's hit the galactic map and then hyperwarp. There's our red alert indicating that there are enemies. Oh, there they are. There we are, one down. This has been my past experience with the 2600 version. It just feels a lot more chaotic than the original computer version. Just because there's so much sort of sprite flicker and stuff going on that it's a little bit difficult to see what's going on. And the enemies move so fast that it's kind of tricky to determine what you're supposed to be doing. And that radar doesn't feel super helpful either. come here. See, there's those two dots flickering around on it, and it seems to bear very little relation to what is actually happening on screen. Unless that... I guess it's showing me the asteroids as well, maybe? Which I keep hitting. Where's... I have died! Because I don't really know what was happening. I'm going to have another quick look at the manual. Okay. First, game reset to display the forward view. Sector occupied by Krylon fighters. Red Wing. When the enemy is visible in the forward view, the computer emits 3 short tones. Lock on your photon torpedoes and press the red button to fire them. The attack computer consists of the control panel, the target marker, and the attack computer display. The colour of the control panel indicates the position and range of the target. Red is behind you, green is in front and out of range, and blue is visible and within range. If the control panel turns black, the computer is damaged. The attack computer display tracks targets and locks on the photon torpedoes. The computer tracks 2 targets at a time. The dots shown in figure 3 indicate the targets. Line up a dot in the centre of the display to lock on to the photon torpedoes. When lock-on occurs, the target marker changes from blue to red and the computer emits a short, high-pitched tone. This is the best time to fire your photon torpedoes. Okay, well, let's have another go. So, 10 targets, game reset, off we go. Galactic map. There's a starbase over on the right, and there are the Krylons. Hyperspace. So we want the control panels to go blue, because that means they're in... There we are. Okay. Green means they're out of range. There you are. Trouble is, with no control over your speed, it's nigh impossible to actually hit them. Yeah, this is kind of fitting with my past experiences with this version of the game. I've always... It's been a while since I tried it, but like I've always remembered it being significantly inferior to the original Atari 8-bit version. But I was just having difficulty remembering why. I'm remembering now. Just a general feeling of lack of control that you have. And the sluggish feeling controls and... Two more targets to go. I should probably... Oh, they're in their starbase sector already. That's ridiculous. Yeah, the other thing that is a major difference between this 2600 version and the Atari 8-bit and 5200 versions is that the The Atari A version has a much more sort of strategic feel to it because there are multiple squadrons of Xylons, as they're called in that one, rather than Krylons. There's multiple squadrons of them around the galaxy. And so you have to prioritise which ones you think are the most sensible targets to go for. Whereas in this one, it just seems there's one squadron of them that just has all the targets in. And they gradually advance towards the starbase as you're fighting them. Yeah, let's bump it up to the second difficulty level, because it said in the manual that the more targets there are, the slower they move. So this might actually end up making it a little bit easier. Let's give it a go. So, warp over to where they are. Try and make use of this ridiculous radar. Wow, okay. Let's try that again, shall we? I don't really feel there was much I could do about that. And it's like I just took a ridiculous amount of damage immediately and then wasn't really able to counteract it. Okay, so your best defense is just to shoot them. Like, you can't really dodge their shots because they come flying at you so quickly. Uh-oh, my shields are gone. Oh, that's really difficult. Let's go back to the easy level. Right, over here. Hyper warp. And just take them out as quickly as we can. There's only 10 of them, it can't take that long. There's one. If you haven't figured it out, the T marker down on the status panel at the bottom is how many targets we've got left to destroy. That's 2 down. Come on, come here. Yeah, I think the trouble I'm having with this at the minute is that the sort of sense of 3D isn't anywhere as near as convincing as it is in the version I'm more accustomed to. And that's it. It doesn't really feel like you're controlling much. Like, you can see the starfield moving around, but because the starfield is so vaguely defined, it doesn't feel like you're really doing very much. And thus this ends up feeling less like Star Raiders and more like sort of earlier attempts at first-person space combat sims, like, say, Cosmic Conflict, I think it's called, on the Philips G7000 or the Odyssey 2. 3 targets left. So yeah, there's just not really that feeling of being part of a sort of strategic space war. And that, for me, has always been a critical part of the Star Raiders experience. feeling like you really are that kind of lone hero, taking on an entire fleet of enemy ships by yourself. Oh, death. And you had one ship left to go that time, though. Let's try one more time. Right, let's head over there. Yeah, I mean, this isn't the worst 2600 game I've ever seen, but I think the 2600 was probably capable of a better version of Star Raiders than this. Like if you look at Solaris, which I've covered on the Evercade A to Z series on this channel, that was developed by Doug Neubauer, who made the original Star Raiders for Atari 8-bit computers, and it's a brilliant game. It's got sort of the complexity of the original Star Raiders in a format that works well with a single button controller as well, which is what's remarkable about it. He's properly borne the limitations of the 2600 in mind while he was creating Solaris, and he's made an interesting and strategically complex but highly enjoyable game in the process. Let's go replenish our energy. Yeah, this just doesn't quite feel like Star Raiders to me, which is unfortunate, because I think the 2600 audience would have been very much open to the full Star Raiders experience, but I feel like the platform was probably capable of better than this, though, which is a bit of a shame. But it is what it is, and it's not worth dwelling too much on what might have been and what it potentially could be. This is what we've got, so this is what we're playing. See, like here, I'm pulling back on the stick, but I just can't get the thing in. There we go. Two more targets to go. Oh, I'm going to run out of energy again. One more target. One more target. Why are there still two blips on the radar? Oh, I won. Cook, rank 5. You can just see that underneath the console there. Yeah, so not bad. As far as a conversion of Star Raiders goes, I don't know. I mean, it's okay and fairly comparable to other kind of first-person space combat sims, or attempts thereof, on the not terribly powerful hardware of the time. But I think the 2600 could have done a little bit better than that. In fact, I know the 2600 could do a little bit better than that. Yes, Solaris came out much, much, much later. Solaris came out as part of the sort of second wave of 2600 after Jack Trammell took over. But, yeah, I don't know. A little bit disappointed in that, which is a bit of a shame. But at least next time we get to enjoy the Atari 5200 version, which is pretty close in execution to the Atari 8-bit version, with a few little tweaks here and there. The only thing that might be a little bit fiddly with the 5200 version is that the controls are kind of designed to... With the Atari A version, the controls were designed to be used on just a normal keyboard. So you press C to turn the computer on, you press S to turn your shields on, and so on. And as we've seen in the few 5200 games that we've played on this series, the interface for using the 5200 keypad in this collection is a little bit clunky. And Star Raiders makes it doubly awkward by having a sort of shift function as well. So for certain functions, you have to press one key on the controller and then another key on the controller. We can't assign buttons to the most sort of common controls, though. So we'll come to all that when we actually get to looking at the 5200 version. But for now, that is the 2600 version, such as it is. Challenging game, not necessarily for all the right reasons, I don't think, but it's a thing. It exists. It was a bold attempt, but I think it could have maybe been a little bit better. Anyway, let's leave that there for now. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.